Hello, everyone. Welcome to ListenABLE. My name is Angus O'Loughlin. Dylan Alcott is across from me, as always, in the Podcast One studios for another recording with another absolute legend.
Yeah, we have an absolute ledge here, and we are loving this podcast because we're shining a light on people with disability, but also in a probably different lens, like an educational, but also informative, but entertaining way. It's a podcast for absolutely everybody. You don't have to have a disability to get involved. But the person that we have here does. We met at Splendor in the Grass.
Yes, we did.
We did, very briefly. I was working on Triple J, and I think I had finished my shift and had a couple of beers when you actually walked past. And I was like,
Yeah.
is that someone else backstage who's disabled? I was like, that's bullshit.
So rare.
That's strictly my domain. So can you please introduce yourself?
My name's Cherie. I live in Melbourne. I do disability advocacy, work a day job as well, and spend my spare time, I guess, just gigging and going out with friends. And
Shit, yeah. And what is your disability?
I am a leg amputee. So I had cancer when I was 6 years old, bone cancer in my pelvis. And yeah, that's how it happened.
So let's start at that injury at the age of, at the age of 6, having cancer. How much were you aware of what was happening at the time?
Not much, but I did know what cancer was because I saw a little girl on TV with cancer, probably very shortly before I found out that I had it. So it was a bit weird because I remember seeing this girl on TV and being like, I hope that never happens to me. And then next minute, so I knew what it was, luckily, but I thought it meant I was going to go bald.
All
And
right.
that was it.
Yeah, that's
And I was like, no, not my hair. So it was pretty rough. My parents were separated, so it was a bit of juggling, them having to be together to take me to all these things and to hospital and find out what was going on. And then shortly after diagnosis, it was kind of like, take the leg or nothing. Really?
So what kind of kid were you pre that? Were you active, running around?
I was active. I was very quiet. My mum always calls me Wednesday Addams, so I wasn't a big bubbly kid, and then got down to it. But I was pretty. I don't know how active I was. I just remember that I was running one day at school, like in the field with the kids, and then all of a sudden I couldn't really run that well anymore. So that's as much as I know about my activeness, is that I could run,
Yeah.
and then I sucked.
Hey, I suck at running too.
Yeah.
So don't worry.
So at the age of 6, you've got cancer in your pelvis. I'm sure they tried to exhaust all means of radiotherapy, chemotherapy. I mean, what options were offered to you and the family?
That was really it. So we did chemotherapy.
Yeah.
But I've got like my own medical records at home, and I've read through them before. And the document from the day that they told my parents what the options were, it was essentially, they said, surgery is the only option. If we don't operate, then it's game over. But the amputation wasn't confirmed. So they weren't going to know until we were in the surgery if they were going to amputate or not. And it was
no way.
20% chance of amputation.
Oh.
And then if they didn't amputate, they were going to do something like remove my pelvis. And then back then, 20 years ago, there was no kind of reconstruction stuff. So it was kind of like, we'll remove it now and see what happens later and see if we can
Let's
fix
hope
it down the
medical
line.
technology and advances that we'll be able to fix this.
That's what they
So
said.
you got put to sleep, not knowing if you're going to wake up with a leg or not.
Pretty much. And they actually tried to tell me before the surgery that it could happen, but they got out this doll, and then they showed me, trying to show me on the doll, like, what can happen. And they got to the bit where they were talking about, possibly removing the bone, and then I would be unable to use my leg and using crutches. And
I wonder if
all
that
kinds
comes
of things.
down to the idea that you needed to consent to that, if that makes sense. Because, 6 years old, you still have an idea of what's happening in the world. Your parents there's got to be an age where, your parents' decision interferes with your own. Do you think that maybe?
Nah,
No?
I didn't get a say.
Okay.
Well, because they tried to explain it to me, and then I heard, you might not be able to use your leg properly, and I just shut down, and I was like, no. And I just broke down, and then I didn't actually hear them say that you could, it could be amputated altogether. So I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
And then I woke up from surgery and I was like, Mum, there's something on my hip because it felt different, but I didn't realize it was because there was something missing. I thought that it was something else was there. It was so odd because it felt so weird, and I was telling my mum, I was like, what's on my hip? And she's like, nothing's on your hip.
There's nothing there. How did you feel if you can remember, how when you first realised that the leg was gone?
I think I was upset because I thought no one told me. And I was saying, why did no one tell me? And my mum's saying, they did try and tell you, but I didn't listen. So I was upset. And then I would, there was another girl in the same ward as me, and she had, have you heard of rotation plasty?
No, what's that?
I don't know if I'm saying it right, but basically it's when you have the leg amputated, so you've got cancer in your upper leg, and then they keep the lower leg, and then they take the lower leg attach the knee to your hip, and they rotate it, so then your heel becomes your knee.
So a lot of wheelchair tennis players have this, especially in like Holland and stuff, because the knee's the most important joint.
Yeah.
You can attach a prosthetic leg, and then the heel becomes the knee. So the foot's upside down.
Yeah. So then you can still have like a half prosthetic, use it quite well, do running and all those kinds of things. So
Yeah, we had a guy called Curtis McGrath on this podcast, and he was saying that one of his legs cost $200,000 because it's a bionic knee, and that the knee was the most expensive part. The other leg was like not even like a quarter of the price.
Yeah.
The knee was the most important. Okay.
I played a tennis against a guy called Ronald Vink, and he had that. He had the upside down foot, and he had a size 18 foot. And when he would hit tennis balls, his toes would like wiggle and stuff.
Oh.
Psyched you out
Yeah.
well. It was impressive.
Wow.
yeah.
Now, so obviously you and I are in the world, so we know. So, Angus, most people with a prosthetic can attach it to what they call a stump, which is like the part of the leg that's remaining, and then they can walk around. Do you have a stump, or is your amputation too high?
It's too high. So as you're saying, the knee's super expensive and it's super complex. I don't even have a hip. So a lot of people, even if they have like an upper leg amputation, they've still got something that they can kind of leverage. And imagine if you're walking upstairs with a prosthetic, you need a leverage to raise the other leg, right? To go,
Of course.
or walk foot over foot, or walk up a hill. But with me, so I've tried a couple prosthetics when I was a kid, lasted like a day, because it's like a full body swing to try and get your leg to move ahead of you, and it wraps around your waist. So you're sitting in like a socket that wraps around your waist. It's like a full body kind of thing. And then you're just swinging this leg.
It's got to use momentum.
You can't bend your knee. You can't lift it. You can't walk up a hill. You have to go like your foot ahead and then meet it. So it's like half
Not the most
step.
practical way of getting around.
Yeah. So I was a kid and I was like, this is slower. Why would I use this when it's slower? And I can't climb trees. I can't, run around. I played lots of sports when I was a kid. I was like, I can't do this with a prosthetic. And yeah, obviously I still don't have one because the ones they do have out there are $200K plus.
Yeah.
And even then, they still don't have the good hip technology for me to think that it's worth it.
So you use crutches.
Yeah. And I knew, I found someone online, actually. She has the same amputation as me. She passed away last week, which is very sad. But she was the first person I found that had the same amputation as me.
Okay.
And she had a leg, and it was a full, bionic one. But she still used crutches because of the movement restrictions. But she basically had it just for the aesthetic, so she could wear cool pants
exactly,
and
yeah.
all that stuff. And I was like, that is a really expensive accessory.
Hey,
Like-
so dream world, you've just got a lazy $500,000 lying around. Would you go the leg, or are you happy with getting around on crutches?
I think I feel like I might have to eventually, just because like my other hip's getting a bit weak, and just the pressure of walking on crutches. I'm thinking about it like when I get older and I'm not as strong, maybe I might need something extra.
Yeah, makes sense.
But for now I'm okay, but I am definitely considering it, and I I found a guy over in America who specializes in these types of amputations as well. So I'm thinking of going and seeing him because I've seen some videos of guys walking with his legs and they look pretty
legit.
solid.
Nice. Can we talk about, we were meant to actually record this last week, but you had to pull out last minute, which was totally fine, with what you described as phantom pains.
Yes.
What's a phantom pain?
Scientifically, I'm not too sure, but it's essentially when you're an amputee, you still have nerves running to that limb that was there, and then all of a sudden they stop now. So your brain still has these nerves running to nowhere, and maybe there's some kind of confusion in your brain. But what it does is it can cause certain pains. I also have phantom feeling, so I can feel my leg that's not there.
That's whack ass.
And I can move my toes and stuff.
On the leg that's not there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I mean, your brain operates like a full system. It doesn't understand why you don't have the leg that you were once born with.
Yeah.
It makes sense, but isn't it? So you're getting pain receptors in your head telling you, "I'm feeling, stabbing pains in a leg that doesn't exist."
But you feel where the leg was, like
I feel like my leg is small, so I feel like maybe it stopped growing.
You've got a 6-year-old leg.
Yeah, I've got like a little leg because I think so, and then I can feel certain sensations on it, like if I'm rubbing against grass and stuff like that. And I think they say it gets better as the longer it's been that you've been without the limb, but it can actually get worse as well because the nerves can keep growing. And then what they do is they grow and tangle and can turn into like a tumor. And that can cause a lot of pain as well. So there's lots of later effects that I didn't actually know about until another guy, Josh Sundquist, DM'd me on Instagram after I was like complaining about my phantom pains. He's got a hemipelvectomy too. He's a comedian. He's so rad.
he does the best Halloween costumes ever.
Oh, okay.
They go viral every year.
He does all these whack ones about him being a leg with his leg. Man, what's his Instagram again? Just so people can check it out.
Joshua Sundquist.
That's it, Joshua Sunko. He's very good, worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, like 1 year he did Tigger. Where his leg was the tail, and then the rest of the body. Like
It was like a pelican the other year. Where he's like would do like a backflip because he got one leg. It looked like the nose of like the pelican. So
his foot was the nose.
His foot was the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Do like a handstand on his crutches.
Yeah. And then he does, like the gingerbread man from Shrek with
the bitten leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, genius.
So he's rad, and then he had that problem. He's posted about it publicly, so I'm not like giving out his personal information. But he had a procedure just a couple of weeks ago to remove these nerves and have them like reattached to some other ones. So hopefully his brain will work things out.
Amazing.
How did you go at school? Did you get bullied? Were you accepted?
School was hard. I wasn't really bullied because I went back to school when I was in primary school, and the whole school knew me. They had an assembly about me when I was diagnosed to let everyone know. And when I came back, my insecurities were always kind of not really what I should have been insecure about. Like I had a wig when I went back to school, and that was my thing. I was like, and people found out I had a wig, and that was the worst thing in the world. Yeah. And then I got over it. Like I stayed in my classroom for lunchtimes and stuff for a few weeks just to like not be overwhelmed by going out and the whole school's there. People would ask questions, and say things sometimes, and then I got to intermediate school, and that's when I started to get pretty insecure. Like, you're getting older, and like boys and girls start to have like crushes on each other, and you're like, that's when I started to be like, noticing that I was really left out. Which is, stupid. That's not what you should be worried about. You should be...
When you're a kid, that's everything.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Georgie Gorman didn't kiss me at a blue light disco once. It rocked my world for years.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out to George. Shout out to Georgie Gorman. Big fan of the podcast.
Yeah, she's listening. No doubt.
Dodged it.
How did you navigate that?
Not very well. Like, I remember I was at a school disco once. I think I was about 13 years old, and it was like an inter-school disco.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like this boy, so stupid. He was like going around with his friend, and his friend was asking every girl in the room if she would be his girlfriend. And then they got to me, and then the boy leaned over and he kind of like whispered, and he's like, "Don't ask her." And I was like, and then so he skipped me, and he literally was like asking every person in the room, and I was like I don't want to be his girlfriend, but I was like,
You want to be
why
asked?
don't you ask me?
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to tell that crappy Hugh Hefner 13-year-old that no is an option for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that sucks.
I was like, why did everyone else get to reject him?
Yeah, I want to do that.
And then I got to high school, and it was just kind of the same story. It was so depressing, but I got to this point where I was like, like every night in bed, I'd just be like bawling my eyes out, just being like, never gonna get married, never gonna do this and that, and I just like made this kind of, I guess, acceptance with myself. I'm like, you're gonna be alone forever, and you're gonna go get rich, and it doesn't matter. And obviously that was bullshit. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
Of course you
You
can.
can do whatever you want.
And like now I've got a boyfriend. I'm in a very long-term relationship. We live together. We're very happy. But back then it was just like I'd never seen a disabled person in a happy relationship.
Yeah, I was the same.
My one example I had of an amputee woman finding love was the movie Juice Bigelow. Do you remember that?
God,
Juice Bigelow,
yes.
male gigolo.
Yes.
Yeah, and she
Rob
had a
Schneider.
Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider.
Yeah.
I've never heard Rob Schneider described as like a disability advocate getting some stuff out there
It
for.
was a terrible movie.
Yeah, I
And
don't
it was
think
like
that works
it was
well.
like, oh, he still loved her despite her
Yeah.
having one. Like, how wonderful. And I was like, and as like stupid as that movie was, I was like, oh, maybe I'll find my Rob Schneider. Like,
Oh, no. And you deserve much better than Rob Schneider.
no.
Yeah.
The
But
you
that was
can
the
do it guy.
only love story I had.
Yeah, that's so
It's
interesting.
so weird.
And you're right, that does end with him ending up with that person, but it was like, oh, look, exactly
He
right.
still loves her.
He can love the woman with one leg.
Yeah, despite her
Yeah.
major flaw.
Wow.
Now, speaking of love, you said that you have found love, but something that you have to face every day, which I think the able-bodied world probably don't know too much about, is people that are devotees or like troll you online. So if you're comfortable with it, do you mind explaining what that means and I guess some of the things that have happened to you?
Well, a devotee is a person who has a fetish for amputees.
I did not know that was a thing.
It's a
Never
big
did
thing.
I until one day. So I never really, like when I was a teenager, it's so weird. I had to like come out as disabled on the internet because
Okay.
it was like everyone in my life knew, obviously. But then when I was on like Twitter and stuff, it's like you can't tell by a photo of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I did? I went on a date with a girl. Actually, I met her at a party, and I only had photos of my face on my MySpace. So I still feel bad about this. But she was like, I want to kiss Dylan Alcott, going to kiss Dylan Alcott. Then I got to the party. She had no idea he was in a wheelchair. Poor girl freaked out. I still feel bad about it. But I wasn't comfortable. I hadn't come out online
Yeah.
about my disability as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's hard because it's like it doesn't just come up in conversation. Like all your life, everyone's just known. You didn't have to tell people outside of the internet.
Exactly, yeah.
And then the internet also became like this little safe space for me where everyone thought I was normal. And I liked that when I was younger because it was like this internalized ableism that you're taught that you should be embarrassed of it, I guess. So the internet didn't really know that I was an amputee.
That's because you were choosing to put photos up that didn't involve you
Yeah.
having, one leg.
Yeah, and this was also, what are we talking, like 13, 14 years ago where, Instagram's not a thing.
Yeah,
it's-
MySpace probably, right?
Yeah, well, in New Zealand we had Bebo.
Uh-huh, right.
But yeah, even then, like very few photos would be
Bebo.
full body.
Bebo and Scribe. Not many, if any.
I know.
That's all. That's all I got.
That's it?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's a
Okay,
joke.
back on.
Sorry, missed that.
We can edit this, yeah.
That'll hit the chopping room.
And then I think how old was I? I was about 20 when I got to the point. I'd let a few people online already know that I was an amputee, like my close online friends and stuff, and they were all totally fine. Of course they would be. But then when I was around 20, I was kind of like, I need to do something with my life. I need to, you know, do anything. And I was at a point where I was kind of a lot more confident in, you know, being an amputee and people knowing about it. And then I did a interview with Clio magazine, and that was where kind of everyone knew. You know, I just put out this magazine article, just dropped it, and I was like, deal with it.
Because you're a writer, we should also point out as well.
I am.
Oh yeah, I think it says online that you're a writer.
Yeah, I do write.
Yeah.
Um,
Had that beautiful photo of you leaning against a brick wall, and part of the description that you gave was writer.
We've done our research here. Let's
Yeah.
Don't stop it. Yeah, I do write. I'm still kind of getting into, you know, being able to call myself a writer, I guess, because it's something that I just do sporadically
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
and
I get it.
rarely.
So,
So the
Cleo dropped.
Yeah.
And then from then on, the devotees started rolling in.
Yeah, basically. So Cleo dropped this article, and it was a hard copy thing, so it was kind of not really seen. And then they uploaded it to their website, and that's when they all started rolling in. And I'm getting all these weird messages on Facebook, like, "Hey, you want to come to, you know, Greece? I'll pay you $1,000, and we'll do a photo shoot." You know, all this kind of stuff, and you know, just the usual. "Hey, you're so beautiful." You know, I'm asking for photos of my stump and all this stuff. And
What's the weirdest requests you've had?
I've got this guy. He still messages me like every few weeks. It's been going on for years, and he'll be like, "Oh, can I? I'll Western Union you $100 if you do a 5-minute video just walking around your room." And I'm like,
Wow.
just
These people exist.
100%.
Devotees.
I've had a few.
Yeah.
people.
Oh, that's right.
when
You
I
had
was- Yeah, just a few back in the day when I was a teenager, some weird stuff.
So that article then gets picked up in various news forms. I mean, I've seen it in the Sun in the UK's picked it up, the Mirror.
this is a different article.
Oh, so this
This
is.
was like, what, 9 years ago?
Yeah,
Oh,
this is
okay.
the
Sorry, I'm
second
with you.
one.
Yeah,
And
right.
We'll get
we'll get
to
to
the
that
article.
Right.
Have you ever thought about taking the cash and doing anything like that?
No. I've
What about
I've
if the
definitely
price is
trolled
right?
them. I've trolled them sometimes, and I've just been like, "How much can I get them to say they're going to give me?" And
Yeah.
some guy got up to like $2,000, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, catcher."
When I
Wow.
when I was at school, I registered the domain name paraplegicpleasure.com.
I did not know that.
And we thought about doing it, but I didn't do it. Amputationdomination.com. Could make some cash.
You can make serious cash. I know girls that
I'm
do.
telling you. Yeah, they're like serious cash.
So what is? Can we? Have you surely you've done the research into what a devotee is and where the fetish, I think the word you comes into it. What is the allure of amputee?
I think that's just the case of it's just another fetish. You
right.
know, like you've got your foot fetish, then you've got your no foot fetish, and then you got your
Bondage or
bondage.
whatever.
Yeah, it's just another extreme, and then you've got people that want to be amputees, so they've got like a
Wait, they want to cut their own limbs off.
yeah. You've got
Whoa,
you know
what
there's
do you-
people there's
whoa,
people
what-
that have done it.
No, we did not.
The
Yes,
microphone
Google
is
it.
there. So people actually cut off their own limbs on purpose to be amputees.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. What's the gain? What do they feel they're missing out on by having all 4
They
limbs?
just hate their feet.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just another body dysmorphia, I guess. They just feel that it's not.
Are you
Who
allowed-
they are.
Do they do that in the backyard, or is there people that can you legally do that?
The one story I saw, I don't know if it's true because it was Jerry Springer.
Oh, hang on, wait.
Okay.
Great source.
Yes.
No, but he did have his legs amputated, and on the show they were saying that he did it to himself.
Oh my gosh.
Like he did one, and then he did the other one later.
It feels like there'd be something in Thailand. It just feels like Thailand. You could probably get that done. There's a price for everything
I
over
think
there.
so,
Yeah, and then there's people that will like Photoshop people that have 2 legs or whatever to have no legs or one leg because it's what they want to see.
That's what they want to look like. That's
Yeah.
incredible. I had no idea that this world existed. So that article came out 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So fast forward to where we came across you. I mean, obviously you knew Dylan from Splinter of the Grass, but I saw this article in real time. I think it was about the 5th or 6th of November. And I sent you a DM on Instagram straight away saying, hey, we're doing this podcast. I'd love for you to come on and talk about the trolls that you come across. Now, can you tell us the lead up to the article that was printed?
That was just a weird anomaly. So I made like a really lazy joke on Twitter. Like I've said way funnier things before.
Which is so upsetting that some of the good gear wasn't used.
Exactly. And so basically someone had made this tweet. They were like, tweet your age and something you can't do. And so I retweeted it just saying I'm 27 and I can't cross my legs. And that was it. I was just kind of leaving it as like an inside joke for the people that knew me.
Yeah, your followers.
And then a guy took the bait that I didn't really know was there, and then he goes, LMAOY. And then I just retweeted it with a photo of myself, and that was it. I just dropped it. And then, like, within 24 hours, it's like 9,000 retweets, and it's just like everywhere. And then it was like 10% people being, haha, this is funny. And then 90% being like, oh yeah, I'd still yeah, or oh, wonder what that stump looks like. And just one guy said, he was, what did he say? It was like, oh, it would be easy to rape her because she's got one leg and it'd be harder for her to get away. And then it was a million guys making the same joke over and over again, and I was just like, kind of, it was just weird. Like I wasn't upset about it. I didn't go and have a cry over it or anything. I was just like, you're not funny. Like, stop making the same joke 1,000 times. It's just not funny. And people thought it was so funny. And then it kind of died down. And then a journalist found the thread. And then she DM'd me saying, I want to do an article about this. Would you mind, I think she asked me for comment and stuff, and I said, look, I'm going to think about it because I've already got thousands of messages and stuff, and I don't want to make it worse. And then I slept on it, and I woke up, and I was kind of like, well, what's the worst that can happen? and I, set some ground rules on what, she could talk about and what she couldn't, and then I just expected it to be just back of the lifestyle section, just some rando article, might get a few followers maybe, and then she posted it, and then it was just worldwide. Within 24 hours I was looking at the biggest news websites in the country, and I was just like, bang, front page, my mug right there. And that's what freaked me out. Like, that upset me more than the tweets, because I was like, didn't expect that. I knew it was possible that things, the media just picks up on things and runs with them, but it was because I guess I had control over the first article, and there were a few other journalists that let me, have control as well from other publications. But then, especially overseas, they just didn't care, and they just went and wrote whatever they wanted, took whatever photos they wanted, whatever spin they wanted.
That was ripping them off your social media. And
yeah, just taking all the photos off my Instagram and stuff. Whereas the other ones, I'd said, I'm cool if you use these photos and stuff, because this is people, it's infiltrated from my internet life into my real life. I have family and people I went to school with, school teachers messaging me in New Zealand saying, hey, I saw you in the news. And then it's being posted on like the biggest Instagram page in Indonesia. And then I got like thousands of people from Indonesia following me. They were the loveliest out of all of them, by the way. They were so lovely because, places like the UK and stuff, because you could kind of tell where it was heading at the time based on who was messaging you and stuff.
Yeah.
And, Australia and the UK, there were just a lot of horrible comments being like, oh, what do you expect, if you're existing on the internet? You expect people not to say these things? And it's like, I'm not new to the internet, but it doesn't mean I'm not allowed to be like, hey, these comments aren't that great.
Yeah, no, it makes
To be
sense.
like, oh, you deserve it.
And like you said, the headlines do go differently between the countries. Australian ones, some of them read, female amputee targeted by trolls who commented about rape and sex with her. But there is one that the Star in the UK did, and I want to get to talk to you both about the language that they used in their headline. They said, brave female amputee targeted by trolls who want to rape her. The word brave, when it comes to disability, is a really interesting topic. How do you both feel about the word brave being used?
It's a bit weird because obviously you have no choice but to carry on and just keep going. You obviously it takes bravery to break through, I guess, the barriers set by society. So they kind of just put upon you and you have to break through them. It can take bravery, like, to overcome. Like, when I came out as disabled, you know, that took a lot of strength. But they're acting like I'm brave just for existing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, oh, it must be so hard to be her, without knowing a single thing about me. And it's kind of just imposing this assumption that my life is terrible, because I'm an amputee.
Yeah.
Cherie's brave because she beat cancer. She's not brave because she wrote a tweet.
Yeah.
She's not brave because she said a joke. She's not brave to get a cup of coffee. But,
Yeah.
you know, I might be brave because I overcame my disability, fair enough. But me, just being me, is not brave.
Yeah. You getting in the car and driving
Yeah,
is bravery.
this is me driving.
Yeah.
The same way that you drive a car.
Yeah, it's the same with inspiring.
Yeah.
You know, when they say you're inspiring for, literally, I've been told that for crossing the street.
Yeah.
Like, you're so inspiring, and it's like, if it's that surprising to see someone like me out in public, it shouldn't be. You shouldn't be going, oh, I'm so inspired. You should be going, why is it so surprising for me to see a disabled person out in public? Is the world that inaccessible that when I see someone, I'm shocked? Like, maybe make your spaces more welcoming, and then you won't be so surprised.
Love that.
Now, obviously, females, you know, face sexism and challenges every day. Do you think that's compounded as well with having a disability?
I think so. I definitely think I'm treated differently. You know, I think, you know, maybe if a guy made that tweet, he wouldn't have gotten those responses that I got.
Even a guy amputee, for
Yeah.
example. Like, I think it's easier to have a disability and be male because, like, females have a caring nature in them, more so than males, I think, and especially in relationships and things like that. I think it's a lot easier for males with disabilities, and we don't face. You know, I could put up a photo of me with my shirt off making a wheelchair joke. No one's going to say, yummy, gonna rape that. You know what I mean? It just doesn't happen like that, does it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And it's also, people find it a lot more surprising. Actually, I don't know about that. You know, when people still find it surprising that an abled person will date a disabled person. And I just want to quickly, like, segue off the record here. I use identity first. I know you guys use person first language.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Go for it. Do you?
Yeah. It's just
No, of
want
course.
to make sure. Like, I know we're using different things, but I think that's cool
Yeah.
that we show different
I
languages.
like it.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly right. It's good.
Like, for example, there's this guy on Instagram, Shane Burklaw. Do you know him? He's a YouTuber. So him and his girlfriend are YouTubers, and he's a wheelchair user. And he's got a book called People Think My Girlfriend is a Nurse. So people can't believe that she would be dating him.
I get that all the time. Everyone thinks Chantel's my carer or my sister.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't get that myself. Like, people aren't like, oh, it's so surprising that, you know, I have a boyfriend or something like that. But I think it's just different because disability is so varied. You know, there's such a spectrum of it that some people just think, like, I couldn't date someone with a disability. Therefore, how could anyone else? But yeah, I've lost the question.
That's all right. I think like one big one that I get as well is like, oh, not anymore, but oh, you have a girlfriend. Oh, what's her disability? It's just an assumption.
Really?
Yeah, I used to get that a
What?
bit. There's an assumption that she had, and there's nothing wrong with dating someone with a disability as well. But you know, it's more about the person that you're dating. What about, have you dated any flogs or had relationships with people that weren't comfortable with your leg?
I've never had a relationship with someone that wasn't comfortable with my leg because I don't think it would happen in the first place.
It's a real icebreaker.
Yeah.
You know, you couldn't get 2 weeks into the relationship with Cherie and go, oh my God, you're missing a leg.
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a filter for me. Like, as soon as I found out
Exactly.
if I had one leg, it was like, well, there's your kind of just, there's the door.
Yeah, so yeah.
Why hasn't Dylan walked in the kitchen yet? That's weird.
Yeah.
Because I can't.
This guy's real lazy.
I'm real lazy. Yeah.
So what was the question?
Have you ever had any
Flogs.
yeah,
Yes.
bad run-ins with people?
Well,
Like,
when I was a teenager, as I was talking about earlier, and I was having that time of, no one's ever going to be attracted to me and so on. When men started to, it was so surprising to me that I guess I really just really was so into it and just really excited, So if some complete flog showed interest in me, I was kind of like, this is probably all I'm gonna get. I almost felt, like this is, what I have to settle for sometimes. And then, so yeah, there was just, I never really had a relationship until I met my current boyfriend. So that's my only real relationship.
it's a good feeling when the opposite sex shows, or the same sex, shows interest in you, isn't it? I remember I had that. You think you're asexual for a while, and then you're like, oh my God, I just hooked up with someone. I was like fist pumping.
Yeah, it was
because I imagine how you felt, Angus.
Yeah.
Times that by a million.
Of course.
Insecurity.
Nervous. Oh, God.
You know what I mean? Like, we were all nervous and that, and then and the addition of that insecurity of your disability makes it a ton harder.
Yeah. So yeah, there was that while where it was just, men that weren't necessarily, had the best intentions. They wanted to be able to go and tell their friends that they've hooked up with a girl with one leg. It's like a weird brag.
Yeah. Weird flex.
Yeah.
How many amputees you been with, dickhead? I've been with one.
Can we talk about the fact that you, and this might be an area you don't want to go into, and it's totally comfortable with that, that you don't want to put yourself out there because you are, going back to those trolls, you've had such mean, hurtful comments that you don't really want to open yourself up to allowing your followers to get to know you better? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't think that really happened. The trolls didn't really impact me very much.
Awesome.
To be honest. And they were just like a blip on my radar, really. It was the media thing that really got to me. And afterwards, I just made a rule. I was like, don't read the comments on the news articles. Just don't go there.
Yeah.
And then the people that came to me personally were mostly people with good intentions. So the new followers I have, they've come to follow me because they're interested in me. And then the people that are trolling or commenting on news articles saying I deserve it, they're not the people I'm here for. And I've had, a lot of other amputees find me since the media. They've been following me, messaging me. People in very underprivileged countries as well have found me, and we've been speaking.
Awesome.
And those are the people that I post for, other disabled people. It's not because I'm scared of
I just would
online.
I'd hate for you to feel, especially like you said, it's going to be men writing those comments. I'd hate for you to feel a certain way about men walking down the street wondering if they were said any of the comments. But if you've got that sort of strength to be able to brush that off and see the importance of the positivity, then that's amazing,
Yeah. I was insecure as the media was happening. Like when I was on the train, I was like, are these people reading these things? Are they thinking these things? Are they commenting on these posts saying that I deserve it? Are they, judging me? That went away pretty quickly. And it's a matter of, people like me need to be more visible, not less, because the reason that people act so shocked or want to make these comments about how they would sleep with me or do all kinds of horrible things is because they're not accustomed to seeing people like me. And that's why it's some kind of novelty joke when it comes up. They get the opportunity. So if there's more of us, then it's going to get old real quick.
So will the joke, do you want to get legless? I reckon you would have heard that a few times.
So many times.
We have a lot of people that listen to this podcast that are able-bodied, but also a lot of people that have disabilities. Probably parents of young girls who are amputees or even young girls themselves. If you go back and tell 13-year-old Cherie who didn't like herself and the body that she had and things like that, one bit of advice, what would you say?
People are going to see you no matter what. So if they're going to stare, just be the best you can be, I guess.
Let them stare.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
And we're going to finish with a thing that we do every episode, which is a bowl of uncomfortable. It's a question that's been sent to us by people who have curiosities about people with disabilities, not necessarily devotees. I hope these questions aren't coming from these people.
Let me guess. Do you have sex with your leg on or off? That would be devotees would love.
A question is, a lot of people are curious about the sexual side of things. Do you feel sexy now in your current self?
This is
It's not about sex, but it's about,
I have. So this is weird to answer, honestly, because like I have my own, well, I guess I go through stages of depression and stuff, which is unrelated to my disability.
Oh, really?
So there are times that I don't feel great about myself, but it's nothing to do with my disability. So I do feel good about myself. Yes. And I do, yes, feel sexy at times. And then there's times that I don't because I'm human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does your amputation have an effect on your mental health, or is it?
No, it's probably the least of my worries. Yeah.
You should have nothing to worry about because, Cherie, you are a effing ledge. And I love something that I love about you from afar is the way that you do put yourself out there and advocate for people because, Angus, it's hard sometimes. It really is. And, I still am insecure about my disability, about things, about sex and all different things like that. And the best way to educate people is through lived experience. And you talk about your lived experience.
Yeah.
And I think you should be really proud of that. And we really bloody appreciate you coming in. And if anybody, wants to follow you with that, well, we can put your socials in our handle and things like that. But
show notes.
yeah, from our team here at ListenABLE, I just want to say thanks so much for coming in and being honest about it. And I think you'll continue to help a lot of people.
Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. Will you come back?
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Well, shit,
Alright.
I might actually sack Angus. You can be my
Oh,
co-host.
okay. Let's not go that far, hey? Thank you so much, Cherie.
Thank you.
One thing I like about you as well is you got good fashion. You wear nice sneakers. I want to know what you do with the other shoe.
I stash them until I move house, and then they all go in the bin.
You just bin them?
Yeah, but I have heard there are like trading websites
Well,
for amputees.
of
how good's this? On my wheelchair basketball team, the rollers, there was two guys. One was a left leg amputee, one was a right leg amputee. Guess what? Same size shoe. So they go shopping together and just buy one pair and split it.
Amazing.
Do you know what they
How
call
good
them?
is that?
Do you know what they call them?
No.
Soulmates.
Oh, genius.
Boom.
Genius.
Yes, totally a thing. I haven't found mine yet, by the way. Size 10, women's.
Okay,
Wait,
yes.
have you got a left leg or a right leg?
I'm right foot.
So we're looking for a size 10 lefty.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, hit us up.
Okay, hit us up.